Hello, Carol.
Hello.
Hello, hello. So I'll just tell the viewers of this presentation that I am Shanti Ritam Paramahansa, and I just returned from safely from my journey to the United Kingdom, and you were so kindly taking me to the station, and you, the woman I'm referring to, is Carole Bragg, and I am recently at the Academy of Truth studio in the beautiful surroundings of the Sweden that is moving into autumn and gently into winter. So the reason I've asked the permission and asked you, Carol, to tell about your life is because you have, I would say, an extraordinary life, and that you have spent your life from childhood in beautiful Plymouth, and that it is my feeling basically that your life story in so many ways touches upon what has happened to Great Britain during the same period of time. And I'm very happy to be in touch with you out of Skype. So please, Carol, would you take it from here and tell it just the way you feel like telling it?
Yes, certainly. My name's Carole Bragg. I was born Carole Hartham. I was born in Plymouth and I've lived here all my life. Plymouth, and indeed England and Britain, has changed considerably since I was born. I was 5 years old when the war finished. I remember the bombings. We lived right beside the dockyard walls, so it was quite horrendous. And spent my younger years playing in the bombed out buildings. Of course, we didn't realise the horror of it all at that age. It was just the playground to us, and we enjoyed picking up bits of shrapnel and things like that, not realising what the sacrifices that had been made for it. As I grew up, I realised that life in Plymouth was more or less the same as anywhere else in Britain, really. We had a lot of industry. We had parts for cars made here. We had clothing made, gloves, hats, mattresses, television, and we also had the dockyard, Devonport Dockyard, which was right next to where I lived as a child, actually. The dockyard employed about 40,000 people at that time, and they built ships, they repaired ships, they reconditioned ships. The services used the shipyards constantly. Over the years that has diminished, and now they employ about 4,000 people rather than 40. When it was in full swing, we used to do a lot of apprenticeships for the youngsters so they could learn all the skills of shipbuilding, working with things like lathes and so on. And they were really the biggest employer in Plymouth. And because they were the biggest employer, they also controlled the wages. So Plymouth's never been a very big, high wage area. But over the years, bit by bit, all those industries have gone. I'm trying to think now. We actually made car parts, clothing, hats, gloves, televisions, radios, mattresses, shoes, fridges. The amount of things we made in Plymouth, excuse me, that's my phone. I turned it off. There was a tremendous amount of work for all the youngsters, as well as obviously the people who've worked all their lives. But now, I think what we have left in Plymouth is, I'm just trying to think. Well, there's hardly anything. We make parts for fridges now in Plymouth. The dockyard, as I say, is down to about 4,000 people, and apprenticeships in the dockyard now are practically non-existent. The amount of service personnel living here now is about, I would say, about a tenth of what it was when I was growing up. If that, it has changed so badly. The youngsters have got nothing to do apart from fast food places and shops and things like that. It is really, really bad. And we find that this is the same all through the country. The major industries, our mining, our steelworks, our car building, everything in this country is gone. And we seem to be just a dumping ground for Europe, really. The immigrants coming in. Not that I have anything against immigrants. Please don't think that. I have nothing against immigrants at all. But there's no work for them here. There's no work for our people. So obviously they're the same. They're working in fast food outlets or living on public assistance, really. So really the whole country has been decimated. And of course this has been done by our own politicians. It started going downhill really fast once we joined the European Union. The rules and regulations coming out of that have sort of decimated most of our small farms and things like that. They just couldn't afford to keep up with the rules and regulations. And Britain has always implemented their rules to the letter. There's no give and take in Britain. They don't pick and choose what rules they want to follow. We've got to follow them all. So everything that the EU says we have to do, we do. And we do it because British people have always been so lawful. Unfortunately, in one way, obviously nobody wants to break the law, but when the laws are unjust like they are coming from Europe, then I think it's time that people started breaking the laws. At least standing up to them and saying, no, we're not going to do it anymore. But of course, getting the bulk of people to do that is not easy. And that really is basically what it's been like, not just in Plymouth, but in the whole of Britain, really.
Carole, first of all, your picture, your video has been sagging a little bit. Do you have any programs open that you might be able to close down, or maybe I should close down my video? It's important that we keep your face in view, but
I've got nothing else on.
Okay. Then there is a lovely dog also saying hello from your place over.
Yes, I'm afraid he was welcoming the grandson back.
Well, that is just fine. I know all the love there is in Britain for the dogs, and it's the same here in Sweden. And it has also become better, but I was a little worried to start with because there was some interference and noise, not in the first when we chatted about this, but as soon as we started recording, it was like it started to sag.
Always the way, isn't it?
Well, that's the way it is. But coming to
start again.
I beg your pardon?
You want to start again?
No, I think it depends on. I don't think so. I think we're quite fine where we are. Okay. I will listen to it when we finished, and should there be any major problems, I will do it again. I think we're doing just fine. Carole, to take it to what can be done, I know that you are deeply involved in doing what you can right now. Would you like to talk about that, your commitment to doing something?
Of course. My husband passed away in 2000, and not long before he actually passed away, when he was ill, I started getting, I would say, more knowledgeable about what was going on around us as regards to the country. Up until then, I was bringing up my family and then nursing my husband when he was ill. But he was sort of bedridden, and I started noticing things, I suppose. So when Phil passed away, I had a little break to get over nursing him, and then I joined the United Kingdom Independence Party, which is a political party that says we should get out of the European Union, which I agree with. We should be out of it. And I worked quite hard for that group when I was involved with it. I became the vice chairman in Plymouth, and spent 2 or 3 years sort of really working hard for the UK Independence Party. And then I became disillusioned with them. And at the same time, I met Brian Gerrish. And Brian Gerrish told us all about common purpose, what they were doing and how they were doing it. And as I said, I'd become disillusioned with UKIP, so I decided to leave and join up with Brian. Brian at that time was producing an A4 sheet of information just about Plymouth and Devonport, and distributing it in the Devonport area, which is where our dockyard is. And the people that were getting the A4 sheet were saying to him, we want more, we want to give out more of them, and we'd like to be able to send them to other people around the country, because it doesn't just affect Plymouth. So we decided then that with myself and a few others from the UKIP group, who were also disillusioned with UKIP, we decided we would set up a little office and try and start getting the truth out to people, what was really going on. So we had an office in the Plymouth Town Centre, just one room, and then we were joined by another man who was very capable at producing actual newspapers. So the A4 sheet became a newspaper. It was called Devonport Column at the time, because that's where it originated, in Devonport. And then as more and more people around the country were saying, we want it, we turned it into the UK column. I would say 5 years after we started, Mike Robinson joined us. He came over from France especially to work with us, which was amazing, really. And he's here with his family, and he does all the video work, all the electrical work, all the IT work, because he's very knowledgeable about all that. And ever since then, we have been producing the UK column newspaper, and of course, in the last 2 years, we've been doing the daily news programmes. No, it's more than 2 years, must be coming on for 4 years. No, 3 years. Well, anyway, we've been doing a daily news programme and some evening programmes as well. And really, it's just getting the truth out to people, what's going on, not just in Plymouth, of course, but now in Britain and around the world. We've realised how bad the money situation is, how we've been fooled by the bankers and the politicians, and we also realise that our politicians, all of them, have committed treason, not just the ones that are elected now, but ever since we actually signed the first EU treaty, I suppose you would call it, and they've given away everything everything that was good in this country is gone. We are watched constantly. We've got cameras wherever we go. We're fined and penalised for just about everything we do now. Our actual constitution says that we can do anything we want unless the law says we cannot, provided we don't hurt anyone else. But we're fast becoming like Europe now, where it's a case of you can only do what the law allows. And it's a big change to us. We're just not used to it.
You know what? I do believe that the second law that you referred to, which is kind of that the only thing you can do is what the law says is not illegal. I think that is ordinary. I think it's called Napoleon law. And the first law that you spoke about, is that what you refer to as common law in Britain?
That's common law, yes. our common law says that we can do anything, providing, it's not illegal, there's no law against it, and providing we don't hurt anyone else in any way, financially or physically.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that all came down to common law, where you had trial by jury if you did do something wrong, and they're slowly getting rid of the trial by jury, so now a lot of people are just judged by a judge like they are in Europe, and more and more now it's a case of you can't do anything unless the law says you can do it, which is a complete turnaround. And as I say, we're not used to it. I mean, the younger people are, they've never known anything different. But people like myself, who live what I call free, I know the difference, and it's horrendous. And so myself and Brian Gerrish, Mike Robinson, Kate, who is one of the original people that started with us, and Sheila, who you met yesterday, we know what it was like to be free when we were young, providing we didn't steal, hurt anyone, or steal from anyone, or deliberately ram our car into the shop, or stupid things like that. Providing we didn't do anything like that, we could do anything we want. Now we can't do anything unless the law says we can. And this is a horrendous turnaround. We really hate it.
I spent last winter in the Isle of Wight, and I had an experience that was very eye-opening to me, and that was I was more or less persuaded, actually, to go to visit this job center in Newport, and when I came there, I asked if I could charge my mobile phone, and the woman I asked reacted very, very, very strongly, and it was like almost aggressively. Her face changed into more red shades, and she and a woman colleague of hers, plus a security person, immediately approached me like, no, you can absolutely not do that, and you risk our computer system, and that is forbidden. And then I think, what is it called? The house and safety? There is...
Health and safety.
Is it that what you call it? Health and safety?
Health and safety, yeah.
I heard that repeatedly about so many things, and it's like it's almost under your skin, regulating everything.
Everything, yeah. It is. Everything is regulated now. It's really. It's hard to think, because we've got so entrenched in this system. It's hard to think of something that. We'll just take a typical example. And please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is wrong. When I was a child, I could go and ride my cycle anywhere on the road, on the footpath, anywhere I wanted to, during the day, without lights and so on. And it didn't bother anybody. It was quite lawful. But now, if I go on a cycle, I have to have a hat on. Mm. I have to have lights on the bike, even if it's daytime. You don't have to have them turned on, but they have to be on the bike. That's just a silly example of the control. Yeah. There is so much control now. We can't do ordinary things as we used to be able to do them. It's very difficult to explain unless you've experienced it, really. But that's just a silly example, really.
No, it's not a silly example at all, Carole, as far as I'm concerned. Because coming from Sweden, I can really, really notice the difference between Sweden here, where I spend my time, most of my time, and the feeling I have around this health and safety, among other things. And it's like there are some other differences, Carole. For example, that in a working place in Britain you are only allowed 110 volts, and in Sweden we we operate 220 everywhere in working sites, and often 380. And last year when I was helping friends in the Isle of Wight, for me to see those big transformers and connected to all kinds of electrical equipment was absolutely new for me. So there are many differences that are obvious if you come from the outside. There is a question I'd like to ask you. When you talk about UKIP, is that the party that Nigel Farage is connected to?
Yes, that's the one, yes. And Nigel Farage is a nasty, horrible man.
Well,
really, I mean, he's got the gift of the gab.
Yeah.
He talk the hind legs off a donkey, but he doesn't really tell anybody anything. He talks, but he doesn't tell the people what's behind what's going on, if you see what I mean. It's difficult to explain. He doesn't really tell them anything. He just talks, if you see what I mean. UKIP is getting quite strong in Britain at the moment because people are really fed up with the rules and regulations coming from the EU. A little email came around, something like, I can't remember, something like 3,200 and odd words for the American Constitution and 48,000 words from the EU to say how you can sell a cabbage. You know, this is the ridiculous things that are coming out of the EU, and people are getting really fed up with it. So, yeah, there are a lot of people now who are backing UKIP. But
Carole, could I please ask you to repeat those word facts you just said? How many words in the American Constitution?
Just a minute, I'll get it up because I've not got a very good memory, and I've probably got those figures wrong. Can you bear with me just for a minute?
Absolutely.
Of course, the computer is always very slow when you're in a hurry.
But you know what? I'll fill in the gap a little bit by saying that my only experience of Nigel Farage is that I've really enjoyed his speeches in the European Parliament because he's very outspoken, and if you are a Scandinavian and not used to the British way of standing up in Parliament and the freedom you have of expressing everything, and also the traditional way you have it, and often making your weapon humorized to kind of get through and make your point, where I think I really have enjoyed the excellence with which Nigel Farage is whipping the EU people.
He does speak very well. He does speak very well, but when he should be in Britain telling the people what's really going on. He never, for instance, mentions the fact that they haven't had their books audited for, I think it's 20 odd years now. You know, I mean, the EU haven't had their books audited for 20 odd years. He should be shouting this from the rooftops, but he never mentions it.
Yeah.
I've got these figures up now, and I was completely wrong. Right, the Gettysburg Address was 286 words.
Yeah.
The US Declaration of Independence was 1,300 words.
Yeah.
The EU regulations on the sale of cabbages is 26,911 words.
Did you say 26?
26,911 words. You've got the US Declaration of Independence, which took 1,300, and the sale of cabbages in the EU, the regulations on selling cabbages is 26,911. And that is the ridiculous thing that we've got with the EU.
Well, that just about says it all, doesn't it?
It does really, yeah.
Let me just see here. We have gone through a lot, and to go back, I would really like you if you I will remind you that with your permission I'm going to post this onto the YouTube. So, but would you please inform people about your opinion based on your experience around UKIP and Nigel Farage? What is it that you think that is questionable about the man?
No, Nigel Farage is how can I put it? He's charismatic. He's very charismatic, and because of that, he gets away with a lot.
Yeah.
But he should be in Britain telling the British people exactly what's going on in the European Union.
Yeah.
When he goes to Europe and talks in the Parliament, he's amazing. He really is. He expresses himself well, and he gets his points across. But the UK Independence Party needs to get what's the word? They need to have the most seats in Parliament, put it that way. And to do that, he has to tell the people exactly what's going on over there, and he doesn't.
Right.
To several of his meetings, UKIP meetings, not just in Plymouth, all over the country I've been. He talks about UKIP and how wonderful it is, and he talks about his experiences in the European Union and so on. But he doesn't tell the people, as an instance, this business about 26,000 words for regulations on the cabbage. He doesn't tell the people they haven't had their books audited for 20-odd years. He doesn't tell the people that when they say anything, our government implements it completely, and we've got to do what they say. He doesn't tell them all these things.
Right.
If he did, I think UKIP would do a lot better than what they're doing. They're doing quite well at the moment, but I think they would do a lot better. And because I can't remember when it was now, but when I was in UKIP, when I was the vice chair, we had a European election coming up.
Yes.
And myself and all our group in Plymouth, we literally bombarded Plymouth with a newspaper talking about Europe and about what was going on, and talking about the UK Independence Party. In that European election, we got the most UKIP MEPs elected than they'd ever had. I think it was something like 20-odd MEPs were elected. And the bulk of those was in the southwest. That was down to our group in Plymouth. Right after the election, we were on a high because we had done so well, obviously. Right after the election, I said, being the vice chair in Plymouth, I said to the leader of UKIP on the phone, "What do we do now?" He said, "Take 6 months off." I said, "Pardon?" He said, "Take 6 months off." I said, "But we're on a high. We're doing really well. We need to keep this up, keep the momentum going." No, we're all having 6 months rest now. He said, "Just take 6 months off." And I thought, when we've just had such a big victory, now is the time we should be pushing the points home to people, making them see, that what we were saying was true and is continuing. And that was what disillusioned me. I thought, this is a waste of time. They're just trying to get themselves elected for the cushy job. And that's
to me it really sounds like if you were too successful. Quite honestly, it sounds like that you were too successful, that it needed to be slowed down.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, the way I hear you say it is that it sounds like if a lot of people of your quality find that they are very disillusioned and have left the party, then, of course, this is only speculation on my part, but I've seen it in other circumstances where it's almost like people are attracted to something that works for or attracts them, and then they will be led around in circles until they don't have any energy left, and that is the way. The word resistance or opposition is being bled almost from energy until there is none left, and
Brian has said right from the word go that UK Independence Party was set up by the Conservatives. He believes he's got no proof of this. He believes they were set up by the Conservatives just to keep the Eurosceptics happy.
Yeah.
That's what he believes.
Yeah.
And when the leadership said that to me after that fantastic win that we had, I agreed with them. I thought, well, they obviously aren't really serious about what they're doing, or they would be pushing home their advantage now. You know, so that's why I decided to go with Ryan instead.
So will you take it from there, Carole? Will you tell me more about how you feel about your present involvement?
The things that we are doing now, I'd like to say for a start that we've been doing this now for, I would say, coming up to 11 years. We've never had any sort of backing from anybody apart from donations from good people around the country who believe in what we're doing. We publish the truth. We talk about the truth on the internet. We've been going all this time and we've never been sued, so it's obvious we've got the truth. We would have been in prison a long time ago. And I think, when you think we started with 12 people in Plymouth and now we've got the papers going all over the world. It's not just in England or Britain, it's all over the world now. New Zealand, Australia, America, Canada, Germany, France, Bali, Kenya. It goes all over the world, the paper. And all over Britain as well, of course. And when you think that we started with 12 people and now we've got all these people who are watching what we're saying, and a lot of the mainstream media watch us as well. And we know that because very often we will put a story out either on the lunchtime news or in the newspaper, and 2 or 3 weeks later the same story will appear in the Daily Mail or one of the other major newspapers. Obviously they change the words, but the stories are the same, so they're watching us. And obviously they must check our facts before they print it, but then they print what we've been saying. So we know they're watching us, we know that a lot of people are watching us, and we research everything we say and do, so we never say anything unless we're sure of our fact. If we're fairly sure but not certain, we will say we understand or we think. But if we don't say that, then we've got the proof of what we're saying. And we've named people, big people, all over the world. They've never tried to sue us because we've always had the proof. So, yeah, I mean, what we're doing now is we're just trying to keep people informed, really, of what's really going on. Because most people now have got to work such long hours just to make ends meet with the bills, the horrendous bills that we're getting. The fuel bills, the petrol as well as electric and gas, and our rates, the taxes, everything is taxed to the hilt now. They've got to work every hour God sends just to make ends meet now. Ordinary people, obviously the rich don't have to, but ordinary people. And they've not got time to understand or realise what is going on. And this is why we are trying desperately to wake all the people up. And it's working. Maybe not as fast as we would like, but it's working.
I can tell you from my experience just an hour ago how impressed. Well, as you well know, I came over to Britain to give a friend a hand, and that led to us meeting and me coming down to you down in Plymouth, and I am so very impressed and happy that I have hands-on experience of your work down there in the crew and also the studio work, and having been present in one of your news broadcasts, and I want really to tell you that my mission, if I may say so, to Britain was supported by a good friend of mine, among other things, with backup from home, and also with lending me a very, very good Sony Handycam. And now I am back here. I started from the place where she lives with her son, and I'm back. And we saw the production that actually I'm very much involved with, that it became a reality with my friend Andrew Mackey. And she is very impressed with the quality. She is very impressed with the quality of the broadcast, and and the visuals and the sound and how it's made and the professionalism, and she will from now on watch it. And she is a very, very active woman, together with her son, on other areas. And I want to use this opportunity to say that their speciality, their area of speciality, is around the mind control agenda that is ongoing on the planet, and that her son is the founder of the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment, called EUCASH, and his name is Magnus Olsson. You will find him, among other things, in a program presented by Russia Today, where Daniel Esterlin interviews him around the global mind control agenda. And well, anyway, what I want to say is also not to forget that is they have the historically first ever conference coming up now on the 20th of November in Brussels, Belgium, on this subject, where a minimum of 130 people will focus on this agenda, I beg your pardon?
NLP?
Well, no, that is so much more. We are talking about a much larger area of mind control. We are talking about the tectonic grid. We are talking about the Gwen towers. We are talking about the mind control that is being enforced by microchipping people and so on. But I'd really not go into this area, because I would rather do a follow-up interview with Magnus when the time comes. But I'll just tell the people seeing this that they can check out the EUCASH conference coming up on the 20th of November in Brussels, Belgium, where Magnus Olsson is the main speaker, and many other well-known names. For example, the highest-ranking ever NSA whistleblower, who spent years developing and enforcing this mind control agenda, who is now has turned whistleblower and informer. He will be one of the VIP speakers also. So that said about that, what I wanted to give you back as support and evidence from my experience, from my life, is that you have found two more viewers who will from now on watch the 1 o'clock news, and that. Carole, is there anything else you would like to say? I can quite easily see that if you would be willing to, I would check in with you on a regular basis.
That's no problem. You just call me whenever you want, Shanti. It's been a really good experience talking with you. I'd like to say thank you to all the people, not just in Sweden and Britain, but around the world, who, like us, are trying desperately to get the truth out into the world so that we can stop the Agenda 21, we can stop the New World Order, and get these people who are trying to, well, literally destroy our world, because that's what they're doing. They're destroying our world bit by bit. We want them all out of their high positions, and the people like you and the column and all the other people around the world who are trying to get the truth out. I'd just like to say thank you to you all. It's absolutely amazing how things are spreading and how many people are waking up to what's going on.
Thank you very much, and I thank you, Carole. Thank you very much. Now I'll end this session of ours here, and then I'll call you right back after, right?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Carole. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.